Right. Thanks for coming, everybody. I hope to be able to share a few things to help you chart a shorter course to your dream job. Mine took quite a bit longer than I was hoping, and I hope that I'll be able to share some stuff that will get you your job a little faster, or at least learn from some challenges. So I think most of you have already put a sticky note on the back wall there. So there's quite a bit of people who are saying they're looking for that EE job. So raise your hand, seasonal or part-time. You're looking for seasonal or part-time? Okay, raise your hand if it's full-time you're looking for. Okay, so about kind of a few of those. Okay, and anybody just looking for any jobs? Okay, yeah. Okay, and then we've got some looking for tips to share with your mentees or others, and then some other reasons. Okay, so and then maybe one person looking for promotion also. So all right, good. This is what I was guessing. Who would be able to be here at this conference session? Okay, Stephanie. There we go. Okay, so there's my intro. Okay, now you. Okay, so I don't know how well you'll be able to see it from the back there, but I don't know if you've seen these little memes on Facebook or other places probably. Environmental educators, what my friends think I do, hugging trees all day. What my parents think I do, I work in the classroom and teach people about ecology and food webs and things. What society thinks I do, I'm a hippie, nothing wrong with that. That's totally not my style though. What my boss thinks I do, I run around and play with kids all day. What I think I do is save the earth, and what I actually do is teach a bunch of kids. So, and then a park naturalist, park ranger is a little similar. So next slide. And so what my friends think I do is go canoeing and rafting all day out there in the park. What tourists think I do, play with Yogi Bear all day. What my grandparents think I do is hug trees. What my seasonal naturalists think I do is yell at the computer. Unfortunately, I do a little too much computer stuff. What I think I do is swear in junior rangers and teach kids to, do the good things and save the earth and teach others about nature. What I really do is do troubleshooting on toilets and different things like that, which is the truth. I have dealt with more weird random issues in the nature center than I would like to do. So every day is a different type of job or different task. Okay, so why do you want that job? We have a lot of people who say they're looking for jobs here. So what makes you so excited about trying to get that job? Think about it for just a second. What would make you just strive like this runner here, do everything you can get, all your muscles, all your adrenaline, everything in your body to go get that job? So turn and talk to your neighbor for just a couple of minutes, a minute. What makes you so excited about getting that environmental education job? Hi. Do you need a pen? Right now, I heard that thinking about why they want that job and talking with their neighbors about what drives them. Yeah, yeah. 30 more seconds. They don't. I think a lot of people like college think they won't have anything to do, but actually like a lot and it's easy. Okay. So I heard some things around the room. It's not really just a job, it's more of a lifestyle. What are a couple of the things that are driving you towards this field? Anybody want to volunteer? Yeah.
Well, my name's Gretchen, and I really just like teaching people, especially kids. They just get so excited about learning new things, especially at birth. So it's just like passion for teaching, I guess.
Yeah. What else?
I'm Alex. I really want to teach environmental attendees neurodivergent individuals who would be to confident. Because I feel like it's really hard for them to get access to education like that. And my two brothers have a combination of both of those, so it's really amazing to see them always want to asking me about the things that I do. So
Yeah. Awesome. Anybody else?
I think the best way to learn something is to teach it.
Yes.
And so I feel like if I make them teach something, some of the things that I'm able to teach or I understand what I'm talking about. So it's using it as an outlet to better yourself.
Yeah. Saw a number of heads nodding, agreeing with that. Yeah. Did you have something?
Oh, yeah, just like I'm really passionate about being able to bridge the gap between the public and science, and like just being able, like everyone else said, to teach people about the environment and making it more accessible to everybody.
Yeah. So passion, lifestyle. Yeah, this is your purpose. You're feeling like I'm seeing some heads nodding. Yeah, exactly. Hold on to that thought, because you're gonna need that determination. So go get the job that you want, okay? Awesome. Okay. All right. So my part, I'm a full-time park naturalist as my main job, and I do a lot of environmental education in my position. And I had, I was on the path, and I'm not off the path. I'm still deciding what I want to be when I grow up. And I had it kind of mapped out. I didn't have these bridges to be able to see some of the hurdles or the roadblocks along the way. So what I'm hoping to be able to do here is give you a little bit of bridges on your path, so that maybe it'll be a little easier. Maybe you'll have a few other things that will give you some motivation, some encouragement to keep going, and maybe some shortcuts in your maze. So Stephanie gave a little bit of an overview of my path. I worked for state parks, national parks, environmental education camps, did a master's degree in the field, have worked in soil conservation, and then 3 years, 2 years out of grad school, got a full-time job in soil conservation, and then 5 years out of grad school, I got my full-time naturalist position, which was a lot. It took a lot longer than what I was hoping. And I wasn't just working at McDonald's, which there's nothing wrong with working at McDonald's, but I was doing things in the field, and it was just really challenging. So I did learn a few things that would have helped me along the way, that could have helped me get a job a little sooner. So that's what I'm trying to share with you today. Okay. All right, so here's a little bit of what I want to go over today. Real quickly, a little bit about networking and some recommended training, some other ways to add things to your resume, a little bit about going from job boards to interviewing, to getting that job, how I dealt with networking or dealt with job stress, and then a little bit about what's happening behind the scenes, because now I get to hire people for my summer naturalist positions, and it's really interesting to be on the other side of it and now realize some of the things that were probably going on while I was waiting for that feedback about that job, or why was it taking so long to get an email back or an invitation to an interview. So I'm going to share a few things about at least what goes on behind the scenes when I'm hiring for my summer naturalist positions. So, okay. So networking. This statistic was from a few years ago, but the Department of Labor reported that up to 80% of all positions were filled without the employer advertising. And that means they were filled with some form of networking. So does anybody have any ideas of why employers might use networking instead of posting on LinkedIn and Indeed and all those other things? What do you?
You get an indicator of who the person is that's not participating.
Yes. Anything else? Probably get to see your face. Get to see your face.
You know these people, you like know their skill sets, and it tends to speed up the process. So if you are in a bind for staffing, it's easier to work.
Yeah. Anything else? You hit a lot of the same things. So it can be cheaper. It might be less time consuming. You can spread the word to your professional network. Hey, I've got a job. If you know of somebody who's looking, let them know because I really need to get this position filled quickly or by the right person. This type of networking that I'm talking about might not necessarily be the hiring person already have talked to the people they want to hire, but it could be more of spreading the word with their professional network, who then spreads the words with their professional network and spreads the words beyond that. So networking is kind of a scary word a little bit, especially if you're a young professional, student. It's just like, I don't know if I want to go up and talk to those people. But just talking with people and getting to know other people, getting your name and what you're hoping to do in your career path out there is a good way to get then people say, oh, somebody's looking for a park naturalist position. There's one open in Avon, Indiana right now, full-time naturalist position, just like that. So that kind of networking can be really a good way of filling jobs. So it's important to connect with your professionals in your field. And that can kind of seem a little scary, especially when you're just starting out, like, oh, how do I even branch out into this? So here's a couple ideas of how to do that. So sign up for the EEAI mentorship program. I think Allison mentioned that yesterday in some announcements. So if you're looking to get into this field and you want to chat with somebody who's got a little more experience than you and they might be able to give some tips. I've got a mentee brand new one, Patty, right here. So we've already chatted and given Patty some ideas, and hopefully that's been helpful and will continue to be helpful on where do I go? I'm kind of lost, or what other job boards are there out there, or what kind of training is out there, so you can chat with your mentor and get some ideas. So you have to be an EEAI member to join the mentorship program, and then you get matched with somebody who's also said, yeah, I'd be willing to chat with somebody. It's really informal. It's based on what the needs of the people are. So you could schedule some regular appointments or just some regular email check-ins. How are you doing? What kind of jobs you're applying for? Or, hey, I'm applying for this one. Do you know anybody who knows that hiring supervisor so they can put a good word in for me? So that can work. So visit some parks, museums, zoos, arboretums, but don't just visit them. Go and introduce yourself to the front desk staff, to other people, the people leading the nature programs, the environmental education programs. Do you know of any internships? Are you taking volunteers? Are there any jobs available in this town, in this organization? What about the next town over? Where did you work? You can also chat with them, kind of interview them, get an idea of what kind of things they did to become the person they are today. And that could give you some good ideas for your career path too. Attend meetings, seminars, conferences like this one. There's other ones out there that are a lot of fun too. If you like the smaller group kind of conferences, there's those. If you like the really big ones, there's those too. If you like virtual ones, there's virtual ones. So there's lots of options. You can use social media. Is everybody on LinkedIn? People on LinkedIn? I don't know if that's still kind of a thing. I know there's different trends in social media, but you can be on LinkedIn. Now, what I do for my personal LinkedIn is I only connect with people who I've actually met, because what I do, if I'm going to look for a job or look for people to ask reference questions to, I'm only connecting them with the people I actually know. So that way I have an idea, or people who are connecting with me know that I have actually met the people I'm connected with. So you can do whatever you want on LinkedIn, but that's how I work it. There's some good Facebook groups out there. I know Facebook is kind of going to the wayside, but there's some really good spots where people are sharing jobs. There's a really nice Facebook page, especially for park naturalists, but also environmental education jobs. It's called the Indiana, or what is it exactly called? It has AKA the Indiana Nature People in parentheses. So that's what I always type in. And I share a ton of jobs that I'm not hiring, but ones that I find elsewhere on Facebook, I share it there. And apparently people know that I share things. They're like, I was going to share, but I knew Sarah was going to. So I'm just gonna let her share. Anyway, it's like, okay.
That isn't the Native Plant Society.
No, it's not the Native Plant Society. They may share some jobs there, but their focus is a little different than that.
Do you also share the Dunes Learning Center?
Yes.
I was trying to, that's how I know your name. I was, that's
Yes.
I
Because
could
I
on
worked-
postings in there too.
Yes, because I worked for the Dunes Learning Center for a year at the environmental education camp up at the Indiana Dunes National Park. And I was up there for a year too. So, you can also volunteer and shadow with people of professions that you're kind of looking to get into. Volunteering and shadowing is networking, and a less scary word, I think, anyway, for myself. So here's some examples of some places you could, people you could check if they have volunteer or shadowing opportunities. Some of these are a little challenging to do with COVID protocols in schools and all that kind of stuff. So some might be a little challenging to do, but you can check with local teachers, local parks, soil and water conservation districts. They hire educators. That's a really good job to get into. It might be a good way to put your foot in the door towards a little something different that you might be looking for, but you can get your foot in the door. Solid waste, recycling educators, you can chat with them. I'm here doing my job because I got to shadow somebody who was in the soil and water conservation district, and she introduced me to environmental education as a thing. I knew what environmental education was, but I didn't know the term when I was, in high school. So chat with different people to get some ideas about jobs and stuff. Does anybody have any other things that we should add to the list here about shadowing or volunteering to kind of get your name out there, get connected? Have you tried anything else? Thought about trying something else?
I reached out to the district forester to try to shadow them and volunteer with them.
So I take volunteers in my parks department, and a lot of places do. And because we're all hurting for having enough staff and getting enough things done with the amount of staff we have. So volunteering is a great way to help them out. But also, if you're a good worker, you make a good impression on them, you show that you're really passionate for this field, they're going to remember that. And remember when a job crosses their email or comes across Facebook, that one person who interned with us or volunteered with us, they seem like they would be a really good fit for this. I'm going to share it with somebody who's volunteered for me, who might be in the field or in the area who's looking for that kind of position. So that kind of networking is really important to do. All right. Okay. So here's some recommended training. And I'm putting these on here that were really beneficial for me in my park job and also in the environmental education stuff that I do. So if you're going for more of a classroom teacher, some of this might not apply, but some of it probably overlaps just a little bit. Okay. So there's some workshops through the Department of Natural Resources here in Indiana. Some of these programs are nationwide or internationally used curriculum. So there's something called Project Learning Tree, and some nodding heads. Project Wet and Project Wild are the main 3 curriculum guides. These are really nice, big curriculum guides for a lot of different kid grades. So usually K through 8 or K through 12, all the way through with pre-made lesson plans. You don't have to teach it just like it is written in the book, but it will give you a lot of ideas of what you could do where you're at. And they completely expect you to modify it, change it up, completely change the activity, but using some of those same ideas of the game or whatever it might be. So some of these curriculum guides and these trainings are available for free in Indiana. So the ones that have to do with water here in Indiana are free. So Project Wet is an all-day workshop for free. It's a guide that's about this thick. I think it's probably 300 pages. It's beautiful. You sign up. So the way you look for it is you go to the Indiana DNR Fish and Wildlife Education page, and they have a calendar on there. Now, they have a vacancy in their state coordinator position right now, so there might not be as many workshops being posted on the calendar, but keep checking back. I teach these at my park. I'm located not even 2 hours from here, just west of Indianapolis. So if you'd like me to put you on my email list of when I'm going to offer those trainings, hit me up for an email and I can add you to those lists. I teach a lot of these types of programs at my park, and I have wait lists a mile long sometimes. So Project Wet, Project Wild has an aquatic sort of module or sub-guide. That one's free. It's an all-day workshop. Again, it's a pretty thick thing with lots of education materials, background information for the educator. You do not have to be the expert. But it's a lot of fun. And then we've got Project Wild, the terrestrial guide. It's only $20 for an all-day workshop. That's pretty affordable, even for a broke student, right? And it's a lot of fun. And when you're at the training, these are usually in person, you're chatting with other educators, other people who are already in the field, other people who are looking for jobs too. You can get some ideas. And I think the best part about these trainings is that you get to chat with the other people and then go home with this gigantic guide of all kinds of fun stuff to do with your audience. So they've got those. There's also a program called Go Fishing, where you can learn all about teaching fishing to children. That's through DNR Fish and Wildlife. And it's not on here, but there's a link through this page here, something called Hoosier River Watch. And this is through the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, so also state government. It's a free all-day workshop. I teach those also. And it's about learning about the bugs in the creek and how to use those bugs to determine the water quality. It's a lot of fun. So their purpose is hopefully that you will sign up to be a stream monitor. Maybe you will sign up and monitor one stream a couple times a year, report those details back to the state. That scientists then can use that information to track the water quality. It's a great program, even if you don't sign up to be a volunteer, because you can relay that information to whoever you're teaching and whatever you go on to next. Excellent information. Yeah.
Is that Riverwatch thing? Can you like volunteer to help with the school? Because I remember in my elementary school, like we did Riverwatch. Like, is there a way to volunteer with schools through that?
That might have been something that was set up through the school.
Okay.
So maybe the teachers had set up where some volunteers come in and either to teach the kids or help with the field trip or something like that. We use a lot of that material and field trips to my park. We're not actually recording the data because we're not doing all the steps that are required with the third graders, you know, out in the creek. But we're teaching them the same basic information. Yeah. Okay. That's a lot of stuff right there. This is particularly good for parks careers. It's called the Epley Institute. This is actually through Indiana University. So even if you're a Boilermaker, you can still go there. But there are self-paced courses, online courses through the Epley Institute. Some of them are free. Some of them have a charge, but they're all self-paced, which is really nice because then you don't have to start at the beginning of the semester when all your other classes are starting. You can probably whip out a couple, you know, one in a couple of days or something like that if you focus and read some stuff. So take a look at that. Epley Institute is used by the National Park Service to train some of their employees. So if you're already familiar with that, you can get a leg up in the National Park Service. Okay. Now, Indiana State Park Naturalist Training. So there are a few employees from the Indiana State Parks here. There's the chief interpreter here today at the conference. She's not presenting, but she's going to sessions and stuff. Her name is Angie Manuel, and I think she's in a DNR uniform today. So if you're interested in getting into like state parks and stuff, you can chat with her about when they might be having this training scheduled next. But it's usually offered kind of a middle week in May. And if you are hired as a seasonal naturalist with state parks, they will pay for you to go for free to this. It's an overnight thing. It's sometimes McCormick's Creek, sometimes Brown County State Park, 3 or 4 days, loads of fun. You get to hang out with people like here, go on hikes, teach hikes, practice hikes with a small group, and get trained on how to do all this that you would then go on to do that summer at the park you got hired at. If you don't get hired at a state park, or even if you don't plan on getting hired at a state park, Usually they have it set up where you can pay to come in as an outside agency or as a private individual and pay for that and still attend the training. Highly recommend going to this training regardless of how you get in, especially if you're going for parks here in Indiana, you better go. Yes. How much is it? I have paid a couple of times to go as a private individual. I think it was like, I don't know, $200-300, something like that, which includes lodging and meals, I believe, something like that. But chat with Angie, she'll have the updated information. I haven't gone for a number of years, so she'll have the more updated information. So it's a blast. So if you're going to this training already, get your checkbook out and pay just a little bit more money. And the next one is where you can get an additional layer of training at the State Park Naturalist training week, where you can get a certificate. You can get letters that you can put after your name on your email or your business card. So you could get trained through the National Association for Interpretation and get the Certified Interpreter Guide certificate. So you get a fancy pen, you get a plaque you can mount on your wall, and this is a professional certificate. So I would highly recommend, if you want to be competitive at all as a park naturalist in Indiana, if you do not have this, you will not be competitive. So it's an extra fee on top of the attending the State Park Naturalist training, but you can get it knocked all out in the same time. And this is one that you renew. If you want to be competitive, you're going to renew it every 4 years. Super easy to renew. You need a number of continuing education hours. You pay them a little fee. They send you a new plaque to mount on your wall. Super easy. Don't let it lapse, because it takes way more effort to go back and do it. To get your certificate, you're also doing it for the State Park Naturalist training, but you're going to do a presentation that's going to be sort of like peer reviewed by your group or the professionals who are doing the training. And it sounds really intimidating, and it is, but do it, because the only way you're going to get better at it is doing more presentations where people are watching and giving you feedback, and you'll get better at it. Yeah.
I was gonna say, NAI is actually kind of revising everything, and after the start of the year, there'll be some changes coming. So the certified interpreter guide certificate is gonna be even more accessible, it's a little bit like cheaper. So some people in the past haven't been able to do it on their own. So there are some changes coming down the line. So this is something that interests you, maybe wait until like the new year and then check it with them.
Okay. Thank you for that information. I know in the last like 19 months, they've done a few of these certified interpretive guide trainings online. If that's the only way you can go, then do it online. But I would recommend doing it in person, especially if you're kind of a semi-even social person. Go do it in person, because the networking with the others is so beneficial. You just don't get the same experience online. At least that's my experience anyway. So can't recommend that enough. Another training, the North American Association for Environmental Education. So EEAI is a affiliate member of this. So this is kind of like our parent organization. It's called, in just using the letters, NAAEE. And there are self-paced training modules on their website. You don't have to be a paying member, I don't think, to access those. There's some like introduction to environmental education, history to environmental education. So some good background information if you're just kind of starting out in environmental education. What is this? So you can check out their job board on here too. Okay, they also have a variety of slew of other things. Did anybody happen to come to the pre-conference workshop yesterday? Okay. So one of the pre-conference workshop that we had here was a training that was through this organization where somebody came in person to do it. So they have a lot of stuff on it. Yeah.
I checked out the job board. I do oftentimes on NAAEE. And I noticed that there's never a job in Indiana. It's always, they list Midwest as a category. They list Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, but never Indiana. Do you know why that is?
It probably is because the people who are putting those jobs or putting jobs on job boards don't think about going to the National Association for Indiana.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't put my seasonal naturalist positions on here because I don't expect somebody to come from Washington State to go
Oh, okay.
to my park. I don't have housing or something like that, you know.
I
Or
see.
a full-time job, yeah, you might post that on there. But I have never posted a job on it.
Okay.
Hopefully some full-time ones are out there. All right. So we've got some training available through the EEAI conferences. When I offer educator workshops at my park, because I'm a board member, I then put my training on the EEAI Facebook page. So that will pop up on there. Mindy offered a training just Tuesday at her park. It was a new Project Wet curriculum or climate change curriculum. I haven't gotten trained in it yet, so I can't wait to get that new guy. So a variety of things. Keep watching. We're going to have a virtual session in January with somebody who is going to come do an in-person program here at the conference. She's going to do it as a virtual option for us. And I don't remember what the title was, but it sounded really cool. So watch for that. It's going to be a Thursday evening in January. So, all right, what else? So other states have environmental education certificates. And I have known some members who have gone to other states and gotten the certificates. So Kentucky has one, Ohio has one. I can't remember some of the other states around us that have some of these certificates. So if you want extra leg up, go check out their stuff. You don't have to, be a resident of their state. You might have to join their state association, but that's okay. We'll take you. All right, what else? Indiana Master Naturalists. Is anybody familiar with Indiana Master Naturalists? All right, few of you. So Indiana Master Naturalist is a course that's kind of set up for the lay person. So not super for the person who's going into the field, but it's really good networking, training, more information. I went through the Indiana Master Naturalist course after I'd already had a master's degree. I really didn't expect to learn a whole lot, but boy, I did, because they have great speakers who are experts in their field. There was somebody getting a PhD in fungi who came and gave a presentation. I was like, if I can remember two things that he said, I'll be doing good, but it was really cool. So this Indiana Master Naturalist is a course that's offered in various places of Indiana. A lot of times they're offered maybe once a week for a number of weeks in the evening. You might pay around $100 to go to the course. Sometimes they give you some materials, some field guides, or just experience with the various speakers who come in. Fantastic. Look it up, especially if you're really like, I'm so bummed out. I have to work at the library or whatever, and I can't work in my field, but add something to your resume at the same time. Keep that energy up. Look at that. If you're having troubles getting interviews or during the interviews, there's something called Work One here in Indiana that has free career services. You can walk in and say, I need some help with my resume. I need some help with my cover letter. I need some help figuring out what I want to do when I grow up or whatever it might be. They offer some free help and free training. So when I was really struggling to get that, land after the interview, get the job for the interview, I went over to the Work One office and they had some free interview tools that you could use online. And I can't remember exactly how it was set up, but it was kind of like some practice interview stuff. It was really good. So check it out. There's no shame in trying to get a little extra help. And that definitely helped me. You might also check your college career services too, because they offer a lot of these things. So definitely check those things out. Okay, so here's some advice. And some of these, I'm still getting over the hurt of not getting the jobs that I wanted. So don't burn some bridges. Remember that networking stuff we talked about how important the connections are? If you start bad mouthing somebody that you interviewed with or some organization, it's going to get around. People will probably hear that. So even if you didn't get that dream job, try not to, go, well, they didn't know what to talk about, or whatever. Try not to burn bridges. And don't hold grudges. So didn't get that dream job. Man, I'm just so bummed. Why didn't they hire me? I'm the answer to all of their problems. try not to hold those grudges, because sometimes things work out in a weird way. Maybe you weren't supposed to get that job because a better one's out there. You know, I was interviewing for a whole bunch of positions, full-time naturalist positions, wasn't getting on. I was like, man, that was the one. And then I got this job that I'm in right now, and it pays way better. It's closer to home. I have 2 layers of government over me. If I want to do some crazy nature program at my park, and it doesn't cost an arm or leg and my whole education budget, I can pretty much go out and do it. I might have to ask my boss or just say, hey, I'm just giving you a heads up. We're going to do X, Y, Z in a couple of months or whatever. And as long as I don't say no, then you can do it. But if you're, trying to get in with National Park Service or a really large organization, you're probably not going to have that flexibility to be able to do as many of those things. So in the long run, that worked out okay for me to not get those jobs, but I was really, really crushed for a while. Yeah, not good. So jump. Take advantage of some of those opportunities that might cross your path. It might not be the exact thing that you're going for, but look for the pieces that are in that type of job or volunteer opportunity. This is going to help fill holes in my resume. Somebody might have said, I need either a master's degree for this position, or I need budget experience or something like that. Take advantage of things that can cross your path that are going to help you fill those holes in, because that's going to help you get the next best job out there. So you don't have to think, I'm not going to accept that one because I don't want to be there for 30 years. Nobody stays in jobs for 30 years anymore. So don't worry about getting stuck in something. Take advantage of what comes across your path. All right, so if you still haven't landed that dream job, and so think about a volunteer position, or maybe a job with transferable skills. Maybe something that's kind of semi-related, that has some things that's going to fill in those holes in your resume. Maybe you look for a job in the same agency that, maybe you want to work for the nature center, but they don't have a full-time position, and you're off to parents' insurance now, and you got to pay bills and stuff. Do they have a spot in the office? Do they have a spot in the security field? If you're okay to do that, do they have a spot on the landscaping crew? Take it. If you show that you're a good worker and something pops up and you keep saying, I'm happy to learn in this position right now, but my goal is really that over there. If anybody knows of that position opening up or other places, let me know. If you've made a good impression, they're going to let you know when that position opens. Because they're like, yeah, we know this person. We're not going to hire somebody else that we don't even know. This one we know we can work with or train or whatever it happens to be. This podcast was really helpful. So especially if you're going for parks, I think some of it will relate for environmental education in general. The podcast is called Let's Talk Parks, and the episode is called Strategies for Landing Your Dream Job. And they put this episode up last year. So a lot of people were struggling to get jobs. Well, it was the pandemic, jobs were, there's a lot of hiring freezes and things. So they talk about some other things that are related to parks, park naturalist type positions, where you could get some things to add to your resume and still do what you're trying to do. You can even bring in environmental education to that library job that maybe you got, or whatever it happens to be. You can try and kind of bring those things in sometimes and keep building that resume. So take a listen to that podcast. It was really good. So adding stuff to your resume. I was working for soil conservation. It's not exactly what I wanted to do. It was not an education position. I got to do a little bit, but it wasn't enough. And remember that passion that people were describing a little bit ago? It's like built into my DNA, I guess. Like, I am not a happy person unless I'm sharing stuff with people and learning myself too. And so I was like, well, I think I probably got some stuff offered to, scouts or something. So, I had just come back from working for 3 national parks, got my first full-time job, and I still wasn't teaching very many kids. I was still working towards that park naturalist position. So I contacted Girl Scouts. I wasn't in Scouts as a kid, but I contacted them and said, I think I might have some things to offer Girl Scouts. I'd like to volunteer in some way. And they said, well, we need a leader in your town. I was like, kid. I don't know exactly how it's set up or what's all entailed. I don't have kids of my own, you know, just like, okay. So I kind of learned some things. I was like, yeah, I can do this. So I got to be a Girl Scout leader, and I got to work with these girls for 3 years, and it was so much fun. And one thing that I knew I needed on my resume was some budget stuff, money handling skills. Show that I can be trustworthy. Not that I'm not trustworthy, but you know, just like, you know, I can be trusted with money, that, you know, somebody gives me a budget line and I'm not going to just blow it on weird stuff or stuff that's not, you know, related to my field. So cookie sales, working with the girls to plan trips and things. How are we gonna spend our money? Working with them to work towards goals and helping them understand, well, our cookie sales are not going to send us to Disney. What's going to be more reasonable? So I got to do a lot of stuff. And because environmental education, naturalist type stuff is my passion, I did a lot of stuff with them on those topics. So we painted rain barrels, and Brownies have a whole badge series all about water quality. So I just had a blast. And it was so much fun because I don't have kids of my own. So I put a lot of effort in off the clock, off my other job, in the evenings, the planning meetings and activities. I'm using this Project Learning Tree and Project Wet guides and stuff, putting a lot of energy into it. Have the meeting, have a blast, and then go home by myself to my quiet apartment. It was great. Some of my parents said, "Can I send some kids home with you?" No. Patty, yeah.
Were you a scout leader?
I was a Girl Scout leader.
Wow.
They'll take people who don't have kids. And it's so much fun. All right. Another thing, especially if you're here in Indiana, adding to your resume, so teaching or attending at Indiana Becoming an Outdoors Woman. And we've got a lot of the faces who could attend here. Indiana Becoming an Outdoors Woman is kind of like Girl Scout camp for women. It is so much fun. It is usually the first full weekend in May. This year, it's good. Next year, they're planning it in person, covering the end of April, beginning of May. It is located near Purdue, and it is so much fun. It's a whole weekend of extended learning and networking with other instructors, with other participants. And I teach backyard habitat sometimes, geocaching, map reading, wild edibles, outdoor cooking, backyard, you know, gardening. It is so much fun. Look it up. Registration sometimes fills in a couple of hours once it opens, so keep watching their website. It's so much fun. Yeah.
Wait, where is that one at? Like, you say it's just West Lafayette. Do you know, like, is it like a
Ross
park?
Camp.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Did you say Ross?
Ross
Yeah.
Camp. Yeah. It's an old 4-H, old bear-H camp. So much fun. All right, here's some job boards. These were ones that I've used. All right, so University Career Board. You do not have to use your own University Career Board. If you're going for like parks and wildlife and stuff, Texas, one of the universities in Texas has a great job board, at least when I was looking.
That looks phenomenal still.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
great. Texas A&M, yes. I think some of the Wisconsin university job boards, like Stevens Point and stuff like that, they have some good stuff related. Look for places that are offering degrees in what you're looking for, and they'll probably have job boards related to those things. So look at their job boards. Look at our job board or be a member, and you'll get emails. Sometimes we'll do it as an email blast with just members when we have job openings come across our desk. Sometimes we'll post it on our Facebook page. Other states, EE organizations. So look on their job boards. Soil and water conservation districts, especially if they've got educator positions, those are good jobs. They might not be super glamorous, but they're solid jobs. Solid waste, so recycling, landfills, places like that. Purdue Extension, those are good jobs. Sometimes you have to have a master's degree, but they make at least $5,000 more than I do. Good money. Science teacher organizations, National Association for Interpretation, especially if you're going for parks, Indiana Park and Recreation Association. I think there's an S on the end of that. The National Recreation and Parks Association, they've got job boards. Hang on just a minute. Stephanie, can you go back? Somebody's trying to take a picture.
Thank
Okay,
you.
she got it. All right, she got it. Okay, some resume and cover letter tips. Okay. So tailor your resume and your cover letter for each and every job. Use keywords. Look for the bullet points on those job descriptions. Use some of those keywords. If the job says conservation education, use that in your resume. Don't use environmental education. Sometimes that means a certain political party is, putting that is over that state's organization or whatever. Conservation education is their language. It just means environmental education basically, but use their words. You're like, hey, look, I know how to speak your lingo. There's no one-page rule for resumes, especially if you're going for federal jobs. My federal job application or resume is like 12 pages long. Federal jobs, if you don't have something listed on your resume and you're applying for something that's related or something isn't on your resume, even if it's a hobby, you won't get any points for it. I know somebody who was hiring or trying to get hired in as like a landscape person or like a trails maintenance person. They did lawn mowers and weeding and fixing things at home. They didn't write it on the resume because it was more of a hobby. It wasn't a paid job. They didn't even get asked for an interview because it wasn't on their paperwork. All right. Always include 3 references on your resume. Do not make the hiring supervisor contact you to get your references. Sometimes when the hiring supervisor has time to look at that stack of resumes and things that came in on their job search, they don't have time to contact you. Don't make them ask. Sometimes I think people are like, oh, I can see if they're looking at my resume by asking that or not putting that on there. Ask for references. No. Don't do that. Okay. Always send a cover letter, connecting yourself to the mission statement. If you don't have if your resume really doesn't connect super well to that job, but you're like, I know how it connects in my mind. They can't read your mind. Put a cover letter, even if it doesn't ask for it, put it in there. I have had a stack of applications, more than 60 for one seasonal naturals position, probably 2 cover letters. It wasn't required, but I can look at those and go, oh, I can see why they want this job. The other people didn't even tell me why they want it. Yeah, question.
Okay, when you said to go back to the 3 references on your resume,
Yeah.
is that kind of like the previous work experience part? Just having that, or like,
So-
is there a specific place that I should have references?
I just put them at the bottom of my resume
Okay.
after like training or certifications or whatever.
Okay.
You don't have to put them in any specific spot. So you could put, especially the people you want to be contacted, if they're current supervisor or previous supervisor, you can list that right in your background, your previous work experience or whatever. Some resumes need all of that information, and then we'll ask for 3 references that might not be the same ones that were already listed, and some might only just want 3 references. Good question. Okay. Oops. Explain any gaps in your resume. If you got holes where, maybe you were laid up with a medical condition or, you had to help with a family member or something, that cover letter is where you can explain any gaps. You do not have any gaps that are unexplained. Well, did you go to the moon? Did you drop off the face of the earth? We don't know. What were you doing? Were you in jail? We don't know. So explain those on your cover letter. Have somebody else review your documents. Hopefully I'm not having any glaring errors on my presentation, but definitely have somebody else review your stuff because it looks the same after a while. You won't be able to see it. Any mistakes. Okay, correspondence. This is important. So I got an email one time after I had invited somebody for an interview, and she responded back with this, hello, Sarah, but without the O. If she had been responding to an email when I told her she didn't get the job, I would have thought she meant that on purpose. Pretty sure she didn't mean that on purpose. Read your stuff. Or just don't use the word hello, just in case you're gonna accidentally leave me off. The spell check is gonna say it's correct. All right. Respond ASAP to any job correspondence. The hiring supervisor does not have time to wait weeks for you to respond to, yes, I am interested in an interview. They've moved on to the next person. You don't have an interview invitation anymore, probably. Respond ASAP. Be polite, courteous, thank them, remind them why you want that job again. Because you know what? The number of people who can write legibly, or, understandably, and are polite and things like that, it keeps going down. The number of people who can do that. So practice those writing skills. That's good for the people who, yes, who are in this room. You're doing the great thing. Do you know what? That already sets you above everybody else, which is amazing. Yes. Give yourself a pat on the back. You're here. Okay. So that job is the job. That one on that job board. Here's some things you can do. Contact the hiring supervisor. Email them directly or call and say, hey, I'm interested in this job board. Or this job posting. Can I talk to anybody about that position? Get your name out there. Tell them why you're interested. All right. Ask your references to send in recommendation letters. They can do that even before you get an interview. If you really want that position, keep your mentors up to date. Keep your previous employers up to date. Did you send in a recommendation letter? Here's the job posting. Here's why I want it. Here's my cover letter and my resume. Here's what I said. So you can say the same things. Mine that LinkedIn for other connections. Remember where I said I personally don't connect with people unless I have actually met them. So if you're applying for a position with me, you might go to my LinkedIn, then look if there's any connections between me and you. So you might have a supervisor who you used to work for and you were a good employee. Oh, they're second connections with Sarah or first connections. Hey, supervisor, can you tell Sarah that I'm applying for this job and I think I was a good employee? Maybe she wants to hire me too. That's huge. Do it. It's super easy. All right, what else? Okay, so after the application, what's going on behind the scenes? The hiring supervisor reviews the applications real quick. Sometimes I immediately start sending out emails saying, you're not eligible. Thank you. We've already gone with somebody else. I haven't actually hired it, but this person's not qualified at all. After a certain date or enough applications come in, I'm going to really start digging in. Okay, which ones do I want on the top of the pile? Which ones am I going to maybe invite for an interview? Possibly now or at a later date, they're going to do reference checks or informal reference checks. Remember when I said sometimes people don't put references on there? I don't know exactly what the official rules are, but because of connections, somebody doesn't list the supervisor reference on that job on their resume. I used to work with them. Hey, can you tell me about so-and-so? They applied for a job. And very quickly, I can tell if they were a good employer or not. They don't even have to say anything. Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't ask me about that person. Enough said. I don't even need to talk with that person at all. Or, yes, that is a great person. If you do not hire them, you need to go get checked. Your brain checked. Sometimes you might get a phone call. If you're the person who applied, I start calling people and talking with them on the phone. Do they sound like somebody I want to talk with every day? Do they sound like somebody I want to supervise? And then I might invite them for an interview while I'm on the phone. You might get an interview. Hopefully, yes.
How often do you have to call people and they don't answer because it's another day?
A lot.
Okay, I was curious, is that a factor at all? Are you like, they're not trusting?
Not completely. So I might send an email then and say, do you have time to chat next Monday or whatever? I don't always cold call people because I don't answer my phone if I don't recognize the number. But if you have applied for a job, you might program the Nature Center number in your phone. So if it pops up, oh, I got to go to class, I got to answer this right now. Whatever. Okay. Or you might never hear back.
Is that the phone that you use to interview, or do you use your personal phone?
I never use a personal phone number for anything. I barely even give it out. I've given it to Stephanie once and said, don't contact me on this phone unless it's dire needs or for the conference. What's that?
Is that common?
I don't know. Some people have work cell phones. I do not. I didn't get one, so I don't give that number out. It's not always going to be the same. So you might never hear back. I always let my people know, thank you for applying. We've already gone. We've looked at somebody else. Or you might never hear back. And it's so frustrating. I've been there for months and months and months, or have never heard back. in 12 years or what. Okay. So organize your application materials. So I used Microsoft OneNote as a way to organize my materials. After you've applied for hundreds of jobs, you're not going to remember what you applied for. So make sure you've got a record of it. Keep your references and your mentors up to date. These are the positions I applied for National Park Service. These tabs up here are all the organizations I applied for at least one job. It's not easy, but you can do it. Keep your stuff organized. Tell your mentors when you're applying for jobs. Give them your cover letter, your resume. Here's what I'm going for now. Maybe not every single job, but the big ones. Okay. How I cope with job stress. Exercise. It's helpful. Find a group to be a part of. For me, it was church. Being part of the EEAI, or maybe a group that meets a little more often. Explore, be a tourist in your own town. I am positive there are things you have not found in your own town that could be just interesting to look at. Learn. So maybe you want to do like the Duolingo, learn Spanish or something. Something that's different. Do something different because your brain is going to be so stressed out, could be so stressed out with trying to apply for jobs. Do something different. It's hard because sometimes you're like, I need to use every ounce of my strength to get that job. You need to refresh yourself too. So preparing for that interview, visit the location at all possible in advance. Read the website at least and everything you can find and tell them that. You know the number of people who've done that for my positions? Not many. And it's huge because they already know what we're doing. That sets you apart, that sets you above. Okay. So you got that job interview. What are you going to wear? So what I was told for like a park naturalist position, think about the most dressed up that you're going to be for that position and dress about that much. So I'm a little not dressed up for a conference presentation, but we're really low key here. So I might, wear a blazer, maybe some slacks, not hiking boots, and that's about as dressed up as I get in my position. And then also make sure that they can see you in that position. If you're too dressed up for playing in the dirt, they're going to be like, they're not actually ever going to play in the dirt with kids. So don't be too dressed up, okay? All right.
Would you wear earrings or jewelry?
Earrings are fine. I wouldn't be too blingy. In our position, in our field, we're not too blingy, but that's also me too. I have no jewelry. That's just me. Okay. In the interview, make eye contact and smile and take notes. Ask some questions. Prepare some questions. Don't ask every question under the sun. Prepare some. Interview questions. So that you can learn more about this online using the STAR method of how to answer questions, behavioral questions. So you're going to take questions like the next bullet points. Describe a time when you had to deal with the next person. So you're going to talk about the situation, where it might have been, what task or role you had, what the action was, and what the result was. So if you can put all of those into like 1 or 2 sentences, that's going to really help the person understand how you handled that or may handle other situations in the future. There's some odd interview questions. I'm getting the cue that I'm getting out of time, so I won't go over those right now. Sit down at lunch and I'll tell you something. Okay, after the interview, send a thank you note at least 24 hours from the interview. Email's fine. Hey, thanks for your time. I know you're a busy person. Just wanted to reiterate why I'm interested in the position. There you go. And waiting, what might be happening behind the scenes. There's a lot of things that go into the hiring of somebody. So I selected somebody, but then HR has to be the one that introduced or offers the job. I can't offer the job in my position. So then I have to wait for them to do it. And then they might be on vacation and they can't send it right away. So there's weird things that might be going on behind the scenes that are taking time for you to not get that answer quite right yet. So you might not be disqualified. And I always let my people know either way. And I email them. I don't call them because that's so awkward. Do I answer the phone or not? Did I get it or not? I don't know if I should answer maybe they'll just leave my voicemail and say I got the job or didn't. That's, yeah, you don't want to do that. Okay, so you got the job, but it's not the end. You're going to keep learning. And it's not happily ever after. It's not the Walt Disney movies. Life continues. You have job struggles, you have arguments with your boss, you get to learn how to supervise or whatever. So it's not over. You keep learning and you keep continuing to get better. Or you didn't get the job. Some reasons you might not be you specifically. Who else was in that pool of people they were looking at? It could be things that are not specifically your resume or training. It could be this person doesn't have a lot of experience. I think I'll be able to train them and mold them in how we do things. Or I need somebody who can take off running and they've already done this job somewhere else. So it might be some weird reasons on why you're not getting that job. I'll tell you more at lunch if you want. Ask your connections and you can email me. Don't give up. Don't give up. You can do it. You can do it. Ask for some encouragement from your networks. All right. I'm definitely out of time. So email.
Thank you, Sarah. And Sarah is around, so find her, ask her questions. She, as you can see, she's a resource of knowledge. So that's one of the reasons she's here, is to help you out. So find her, ask questions. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
How often do those